market just closing, and it was an interesting week. It was a week where I realized something big is happening with Tesla, and something very big might be happening in June. And you all know that I said for maybe a year, over a year, or no, a year, exactly a year, that I believe April or May are very likely going to be very important months. And I was wrong, because May is now over and it wasn't that important. Well, we launched Cybercab, mass production, of course, the autonomous vehicle. With that, you can do nothing else than just creating autonomous transport. So was I wrong on May? Maybe, very likely. But in a way, I also was not wrong, because we have this mass production of Cybercab now going on. You have here a video of Joe Techmeyer, who is watching Texas Gigafactory of Tesla nearly every day and watches all these Cybercabs being produced. And as you know, they don't have a steering wheel. The only thing you can do with these things is to turn them into Cybercabs, to turn them into robotaxis. And I had a video out yesterday where I presented my thesis. And when I share these theses with you guys, it's not so much as a YouTuber, it's more like to, assess my own mind and strategy. And yesterday I was going into a big June trade. So these trades are outside my core position, beyond my core position, and I put them on when I see tactical opportunities and tactical probabilities that align in a way that seem very promising in terms of generating alpha. So what I'm seeing here is something big is happening. Something big is happening very likely in June. So now I'm getting more and more confident in a call that something is going to happen in June that will have a major impact, or at least an impact, a 5 to 15% impact on the stock. If the stock goes down to 420, that means 460 to 480. If the stock stays at 440, it means we're going to all-time highs or 500. That is now very likely to happen in June. And why do I say that? Because you see all these Cybercabs being rolled out. There was a great theory I saw today on the World Cup. I totally forgot about that. The World Cup is actually launching, and the first weekend of the World Cup is in Texas. And the World Cup is the most covered sports event in the world with 1 billion viewers. What better opportunity to market something is there than the World Cup? It is in Dallas, a bunch of very important games. The United States plays, Germany plays, Japan plays, all kinds of very important economies for Tesla and Cybercab. And so this is a very interesting constellation. Let me see if I can pull up my World Cup, commentary here. Let's see the World Cup commentary here. No, where you see, where is the World Cup? Oh God, so much tweeting today. It doesn't matter, but the World Cup is definitely coming, and that will be mid of June. That will be in exactly 2 weeks where we have that happening. Here it is. Look at this. This is what I wrote about that. And I'm so obsessed with these things because I am in the business of making pioneer lands, myself and all investors in the pioneer bonds, money, and securing the future of the pioneers with alpha. So that's why I'm very focused, not just on the big strategic things, but also on the tactical trades that in the end make sure we maintain our significant alpha. We are going to go into that in a second, but like this does not come from nothing. We were at a peak at 166% up since January 1st, 2024. But year to date, we are still up a lot, 27%. We have an alpha over Tesla of 32% in the portfolio, in the entire portfolio. Why is that? Because we are paying attention all the time. And now comes the time for June, where I am more and more convinced, I have like an 80% conviction at this point, that there will be an opportunity, Not a giant repricing to 600, 700, what you guys are all waiting for. I'm not waiting for that. It is coming, but while I'm not waiting, I want to execute. So what I'm thinking is, here I outlined that. Launching Cybercabs in Dallas on the weekend of the first World Cup game. Number one, we have seen photos of a whole batch, 10 to 20 Cybercabs being prepared in Dallas. Hello, the World Cup starting mid of June in Dallas, and we have now 20 or more Cybercabs sitting around in Dallas. Why is that? Some countries that play on that, here are some of the countries that play on that weekend. Mind you, if you're American, that the World Cup is the world's largest sporting event with 1 billion plus viewers. These play on that weekend, mid of June. These are the countries. And when a country plays, the entire country is watching it. So we have USA. That's a big country. Germany. That's a very important market. Japan. Very important market. Australia. Brazil. Turkey. Qatar. Hello. Self-driving Qatar, UAE and stuff like that. Switzerland, Netherlands, and many more. So isn't that very interesting? Isn't that very interesting? So that is just one of the theories here why I'm getting bullish on June. But you're also seeing, and I discussed it on Herbert and on my channel here, that a lot of things are now aligning, and the pressure on Tesla because of the push function of the Cybercabs being manufactured and pushed into the market goes up every day. And the fact that Tesla is not holding back. This photo is from today. Thank you, Joe Techmeyer, by the way. I always thank Joe Techmeyer for his amazing coverage. This was just today. This photo is fresh from Austin Gigafactory. Do you think that's a lot of Cybercabs? Yes, for one day. This is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, boom, 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 30, 36, something like that. Do the math. What happens if you produce even 30 Cybercabs per day? You're talking about 1,000 a month. These cars can only be used unsupervised. So I do think, and then Ashok said some things, Elon said some things, maybe these things are going to happen now. And by the way, when we launch 100 or 200 Cybercabs, that does not mean the stock reprices. You know my theory. We need to get to 2,000 to 1,800 in order to have a forcing function that forces every analyst to reprice the stock and drive it to probably 1,000 at that point. If we go into 10,000 plus Cybercabs, and I think that forcing function starts somewhere north of 1,000 unsupervised deployed Cybercabs. That's not what we are talking about, but we are talking about something, a big movement in June. And more important than seeing when the big repricing happens is that we narrow down the timeline when something happens, because then we can deploy the full might and force of my Pioneer Alpha options strategies. I always say I don't need a lot of gains on the stock. I just need to know when it exactly happens, and I can make as unlimited money. It's very simple. Robotaxi tracker, not much to see here. We are now at 700, by the way, so it's not bad. We have 700 tracked, 700 robotaxis that were spotted at any point in time in the last year. So it doesn't mean they're live, it means they're spotted. We have 39 unsupervised, so this is still growing very slowly. We have Dallas, Houston, Austin. That's all we need for the World Cup. And you see what the situation is. People are getting frustrated again after this huge rise in March, a little bit in April. We are flatlining. And so people got frustrated again. I'm told everyone, dudes, we have to wait. We have to be a little patient. Look what happened to Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin. If you're not patient, you have to execute on these technologies. But now with the World Cup, now with the other indications we have, I'm getting quite confident that June is a month where something big is happening. And we also have some other smaller indications, but look at this. We have Europe now coming more and more online. That was a surprise to me. I did not expect that. You have Estonia up here and you have Lithuania. In the middle, Latvia, if you want to have a little European geography test. Here are the great Netherlands that have approved FSD supervised for Tesla cars for customers as the first country. Now Estonia, I also lived once. It's very beautiful in Tallinn. Here's Tallinn, a very beautiful city. You should visit. 2 hours ferry to Helsinki. Up here, also a great city. 1 hour flight to Stockholm, right here. Also an extremely beautiful city. And great Lithuania, the former home of Prussia, where my grandma is from. So here you have Lithuania. And so Estonia and Lithuania, as I predicted, once the first domino falls in Europe, you have all these countries. You don't need to wait for evil Brussels here. You can actually get countries to follow the Netherlands, and there will be competition now. We have Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, not Czechoslovakia. Czech Republic also looking at this, but now 2 unexpected Baltic states have already approved it. This will be a domino effect. This will now happen quickly, and the small ones will move fastest. The Swedes are already complaining to their government why they are not doing it. So now it's the ripple effect coming. Just as a side note, I don't think that's a June catalyst, but we have now these two countries online, and this will happen maybe faster than people think. So that is what is happening. And what does the stock do? What do we do? Or before we go there, you also see this, by the way, Ljubljana, right? You see that, Wien. So you see that there are more and more vehicle operators here, vehicle operators. So that means there is preparation for more and more European countries. Ljubljana is in Slovenia, next to Czech Republic. Czech Republic is really on it, by the way, and Austria, that is right next to Germany. They're all preparing unsupervised. Isn't that interesting? Now, what does it mean for my strategy and for Pioneer Alpha? And as I always emphasize, you guys need to be cautious. Don't just do what I do here, what I present, because this is high risk. You need to make this a full-time job if you do any of these strategies. But here's what's happening to the stock and to Pioneer Alpha. So this week was nice. We recovered from these little drops. Monday was still a very bad day, but then we recovered very nicely throughout the week. We will assess the Pioneer Alpha performance tomorrow. There was one bad thing that happened in the last 2 minutes today, and I'm talking NVIDIA, which dragged the Pioneer Alpha portfolio down and erased 1.2% of our weekly alpha over Tesla, which is very maddening. But I'm sure we make this back because something was wrong there with NVIDIA. I will show you in a second. But here's what we see for Tesla. So, we started Monday opening at 423 and ended up at 435. Altogether, nice week. We bounced back from the 445 area again, which happened before. If you recall here, this is my worst day this year, was here. But you saw before, right, May 11th, we ran up to 445, were rejected, ran up again, were rejected again, then slid all the way down to 395 that day. That was very bad. Now we are back up here and got rejected again. But when you zoom out, you see we're on a nice upwards trajectory from 345. Here's the low, here's the next low, here's the next low. I don't want to be a astrologer here, but you see the trend line. So at 430, something around there, maybe 425, there should be a support line. And given the fundamental situation, given that technical situation, I think we are on a very nice trend line here that is heavily supported by the fundamentals, the tactical fundamentals coming up. Because if we see major Cybercab deployment, and with major I mean anything at this point, because there is no Cybercab deployed, if we see dozens and dozens of Cybercabs deployed in June, the stock will go up 5 to 10 to 15%. And I think the lowest the stock should go is maybe 420 from here. So we are talking 460, 490, whatever. And that is what I'm now preparing. And today I doubled down because we had a nice dip, and I looked at it today and I saw this is like a unconvincing dip. So I bought the right side of the V around here, 432. I went in yesterday with 50% of the trade volume I wanted, or total trade size. And today, now I'm like at 85%, so I'm pretty much in. I can extend it maybe a little bit. So my total sized position, I'm 85% in, and the rest I will put on next week. And these are pretty aggressive puts, short puts. So I'm selling puts. I'm selling for 30, for 35, for 40, and some for 50. Longer term, not weekly, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I think 4 weeks. Was it 3 weeks or 4 weeks after? June 26, I think. So why do I do that? That's a longer discussion for a different video. Option strategies, how you time it, when you do weekly, when you do 2 or 3 or 4 weeks out. But in general, to make it short, if you have a thesis like that, that goes as follows. We are probably going back to all-time highs now with a major tactical catalyst in, with this Cybercab situation. If we run up quickly, let's say to 460, 470, I would get very nervous, right? I would have problems doubling down from there because you can easily get rejected and fall back down. So basically, I have a high conviction that we are going higher from here. At the same time, I have limited double down potential for short puts if we go up 20 from here. So I don't want to be in a situation where I have to do that. So rather than doing weeklies, I'm locking in much more premiums, right? Because if you are selling a 440 or even a 435 that expires end of June, you're getting 20 bucks. Can you even imagine that? So you're getting 20 bucks in premium, which means if Tesla goes sideways from here, right? If Tesla goes sideways from here, you're getting 20 bucks premium. It's the same as if Tesla goes to 455, even though it doesn't. So that's a pretty good deal. And if it goes down to 415, you still didn't lose any money. So that's the advantage of going a little long term. The disadvantage is that you have to wait, because you have to wait until, for churning the premium out. But it's a good deal. So that is my situation now. And of course, if we go on a run, I will probably double down still and stack it up a little bit, but let's see. In total, I expect, if this trade goes well, to add 10 to 20%, 20 would be on the high end, 10 to 20% total return on that alpha, in addition to the Tesla return. So that would be a very big deal. That's basically, that would make me good for the entire year if I don't lose it down the road. But it is a pretty good opportunity that only happens, I think, once or twice a year. There's still the big repricing opportunity coming for Tesla this year. That will be the big one, and that will be hard to play. Let's see. And that might be closer than we think, or it might be not closer than we think. We have to see. So that's the situation. We can also now quickly comment on why I got mini screwed today. I got mini screwed on NVIDIA. That cost me 1.25% of my weekly alpha. Got erased by freaking NVIDIA, even though it made me some yesterday, so maybe a little less. But look at this. This is like market manipulation. I don't care too much because I make it back. But look at this. The biggest company in the world, and that's what they do to it? This is highly suspicious stuff. This happened, look when this happened. This happened literally 10 minutes before market close at 3:50 p.m. That was a massive drop. So NVIDIA was at 217. As I predicted, I went in short puts pretty aggressively and a little bit of leverage. Sorry. To drink something. I was smooth sailing, winning on Friday on Tesla, NVIDIA, totally winning on Robinhood and MicroStrategy, of course. But these are smaller positions. Robinhood going through the roof because they introduced AI trading, crazy stuff. So the stock is going through the roof now, which is good because it's our fourth largest position. So look at this. This dragged me down. That made me a little depressed, but I don't really care because this is probably going to go back to 220 next week. Okay, there you have it. That is the situation. Let's see. Tomorrow I will go through this here. What is the situation? This is last week, by the way, where we went down 4.61% and had actually a loss versus Tesla, our by far the worst week of the year. We had a negative alpha of -5, but compared to Tesla. Tesla was up 0.89% last week, and we were down 4.61% because I was still heavily leveraged. But why? Because I killed it this month. 19% alpha. You probably have a little bit more after this week. Not much, but a little bit more, maybe over, should get over 20% alpha over Tesla. No, 7.86% over Tesla. 20% up for the month. That was a very good month. April was also pretty good. Year to date, 27% year to date because Q1 was tough. But we are absolutely killing Tesla, and that is what matters. Tesla year to date last week was at negative 5.2%. Not much different probably this week. And we are up 32% more than Tesla. That is called alpha. Let's see what happens tomorrow. I do the analysis for this week and we will see. But I'm getting very excited for June. If I kill this, it's going to be good for Pioneer Lands. It's going to rain alpha from the sky. Okay, what do we have here? Do we have questions? What is the chat saying? Public chat. Here we have it. Hi, Joe from London. Hello, back to London. Geilen Job, Jo, wie immer. From Tristan. Thank you. Hey, Joe. Hey, from Sverige. Hey, hur mår du? From Akonda. Hi, everyone from Droid. Hi, from Ohio. What do you even say in Ohio? I only can speak Texan. Howdy to Ohio. That's not what you say in Ohio. In Ohio, you probably speak German. Maud from Stockholm, another Svensk guest. Very good. Hi to Stockholm. Beautiful Stockholm. There we have Denmark. Beautiful. I was just in Copenhagen. One of the best cities. Squirrels are hoarding all the Tesla milestones and saving them for... exactly. Midsommerkranzenherr. Very good. Midsummer is coming. When is Midsummer? In June. Yeah. We have so many Swedish. Very good. Watching from San Diego. Amazing. San Diego. I went to San Diego a lot in 2024 when I was in LA. Citizen tuning in from UK near Bath. Bath, very important city, founded by the Roman Empire, called Bath because it's Roman baths. Still there, probably not in use, but you see the ruins. So Bath, also beautiful city. Tango Passion, can you go a little louder? No, because most people don't think it's too quiet. This is like an issue with YouTube, that some people don't get the volume. I don't know why. UK will be the last domino. Or the first one. The last one? Yes, maybe the last one. I've never heard anyone talk about the risks of sabotage against the cars that are part of robotaxi fleet. Yeah, there is risk, but what if they're going to take jobs? Yeah, Akonda, yes. But this is part of the greater AI story. We see resistance mounting against the data centers. That is much more a political discussion, a cultural discussion. It will hit robotaxis maybe, but who cares? Maybe someone throws like the McDonald's cup against the robotaxi. Companies may carry out sabotage against competitors. That's pretty criminal. I hope not. Street cred 0. I came away with $6,900 this week. That's including a $6,000 cost for rolling options. So you netted 6,900 after the cost. That's good. Which action? Which action? I just elaborate on the action that I'm seeing here. The action. Well, let's see. You're laughing. Joanne is laughing. At least the emoji is laughing. I'm saying there will be action. This is what I feel more and more. I think there's an 80% chance we see real action. And action just means a few dozen of these Cybercabs being deployed. That would be a big deal. We have hi from Andrea, Italy. Francesco. Police. Hi to Italy. Street cred 0. I used to live in Cincinnati, Ohio. Then you can tell me street cred. What do you say? What's your howdy? What's the Ohioan howdy? I don't know how you say hello. Probably Midwestern hello. Just hello. Gilbert or Reolame. Do you see short-term drop for Tesla given SpaceX IPO in 2 weeks? No. I don't think, I'm not buying this whole thing. If there's a drop, it will be minute. It will be kind of not even noticeable in my opinion. At least the drop because of SpaceX IPO. I think the SpaceX IPO will be overhyped. SpaceX is just not in the same cash flow position as Tesla in my opinion. SpaceX is a totally amazing company. Don't get me wrong. Long term, it has more potential than Tesla. But they will be merged. I'm pretty sure they will be merged. I'm just not sure when. I don't think this year. This is like a little too crazy. It's a very major operation. The flat line of robotaxis on RoboTracker is really a sign something is coming. They have enough of testing data, and the next we see is probably a big rollout in the hundreds of 400s in one go. Says Kaneda syndrome. Kaneda syndrome. That sounds Japanese. I don't know if hundreds to 400s. I mean, who knows? I think there are hundreds of Cybercabs already out. Right? When you look at Joe Techmeyer's tweets and you see what he's reporting every day, there must be multiple hundreds of Cybercabs already out and soon over 1,000. I'm very sure, I'm 100% sure we hit over 1,000 Cybercabs out in the wild in June. That's for sure. But will they, what happens to them? I don't know. Gilberto Areolame. That could be Mexican. Hi from California. Where are you in California, Gilberto. Hey from Oseberg, an oil platform in the Norwegian part of the North Sea. Wow. Frode Kleppe. Wow. Hello to the oil platform. That's very cool. We have oil platform watchers. So we have Frode. Is it Frode? Hey from Oseberg. So we have Frode from Oseberg on an oil platform in the North Sea in Norway watching. Amazing. That's a good job. You get paid a lot there, but it's a tough life. Andrea Peterson. Not politics, but all Swedes need to vote SD in the coming election. Hi from Sweden. That is true. I am very concerned about Sweden. I'm looking at the polls. It's not looking good, but we will make it happen. I think Tido is 7% behind. The Social Democrats, the Kraken is coming back for some reason I don't understand. So Andrea, if you can enlighten us what the hell is going on in Sweden, that would be very interesting to understand. Everyone says how amazing Sweden is now, at least on Fox News. Outside Sweden, it's like, oh, the Swedes finally got the message. They're traveling to Denmark. They're learning from the Danish. They're fixing the country. Boom. Next thing you know, the polls go in the wrong direction. I don't know what's going on. Martin Backer, love from Sweden. Can I invest with you here? Well, you can go to pioneeralpha.org. Yes, EU, Qualified Investors EU. No problem. It's on the website pioneeralpha.org. And you will see all the things. I can't say too much here because there are regulations, but you can see it on the website. And there you can also get in touch directly with me or with the team. So please check it out. Let me know if it's understandable. After Cincinnati, says Street Cred 0, I moved to Houston, Texas. So now I say howdy. Okay, howdy. Howdy to Texas. Hi from Saudi Arabia. Wow, Big Boss Live. Hi to Saudi Arabia. We have the whole world in Pioneer Lands. Okay, Gilberto asks, I asked because I see an ascending wedge pattern for Tesla on the 5-year chart and I'm concerned. Bearish on technical analysis and lines up for June. I watch you all the time. Good work. Well, I think this whole wedge pattern situation can go both directions. And it's much more likely to go to the upside, in my opinion. Kaneda Syndrome says, I'm looking for a day to where we might see a good space to buy 40-ish calls. 40-ish? You mean 440? 440-ish calls? 1 to 2 month duration. Risky situation. I'm just not, well, sometimes, I mean, if you hit it, calls can be great, but I am always defaulting back to short puts. If I'm super bullish, when you want to buy calls, I'm going in the money short puts. Gilberto Areolame says, you are correct. I am Mexican descent, lol. I knew it when you said California. That's great. Big Boss Live, how can I invest with you or copy your trades? Big Boss Live, everyone who's interested in the Pioneer Bonds and Pioneer Alpha, you can go to pioneeralpha.org. There you have a selection of regions because we have different jurisdictions, different rules. So I can't just talk about it because it's qualified investors only. And what that means, you have to see per region. Saudi Arabia is a little tricky. We don't have that on the agenda right now. So you would have to click other countries and then that's not possible yet. But you could hit me up on X, Joe Bhakti on X, and I can look into that because we have to always first check the jurisdictions. How many shares of Tesla do you currently own? That is classified because there are also other people in there, but enough to be happy. Andrea Peterson. Well, we have female voters. They tend to vote with emotions. I heard that before. I don't think that's a Sweden-only problem. I mean, they're very smart women too, who understand politics, but the statistics point into a different direction. It's just that simple. People are stupid and don't think further than their nose. To be honest, sad if they vote for the Social Democrats. I know Sweden is like an astounding, I talked to a bunch of Swedes and yeah, it's also like the Swedish culture is not very, it's not very conducive to have clear and honest debates. That's very un-Swedish, right? You want to always sugarcoat everything and not confront the problem. Because, what is it? Lagom hate. Yeah, but I was a little shocked when I saw the polls. Like, what the hell? I thought we escaped the Social Democrats. By his Pioneer ETF, I think it's that. Anyway, it's called Pioneer Bonds, so we have this structured as a bond. But it's I think we have some good stuff. Because the leader is a female. Which leader? The Social Democrat leader in Sweden. Yes, she's a female. But that is not the main problem with the Social Democrats, that the leader is female. Even though she's a problem, I think. Mr. Dubity, Gilberto Areolame. Looks to me only a little like an ascending wedge, more like a trend since 2023 of higher highs and higher lows after a head and shoulders top in 2022. But that's just me. Well, it always depends where you start the whole analysis, right? But I agree on a technical level that June looks like a decision month. And I also said on a fundamental level, I think I had a discussion with Herbert on it, that, yeah, the bubbles, we are the fanboy bubble versus the short bear bubble. They're coming to a, crash. They're going to crash into each other in June and July. Because with Cybercab ramping, and one side saying, Elon is a fraud, it's all not happening, and the other side saying, we are here, they can't be both right. And now we have kind of a function that forces the bubbles together, and one of the bubbles is going to pop. I think it's the bear pop bubble, and I think in June something is going to happen. This is the great art of nailing trades. to understand when it's time for action. And that's why my thumbnail today says action. I do honestly think that June is an action month. Let's see if I'm right. Just wait until FSD is unsupervised. Well, the media will pick up on it and that will drive sales up a lot. That's true. Ramping, exactly. Just look at Joe Techmeyer's thing here. Look at this. So many, all over the place, by the way. That's a different row from these. These are all different ones. All from today. Like, connect the dots. And they even have something in here. I don't even know what that is. What is that? They have something in there. No one knows what that is. Huh. When will Terafab start building? You mean Terafab churning out chips? That will take 5 years or something, maybe 4 years. But that's another big thing. Andreas said, no, I mean many Swedish women only vote for her. Because she's a female. They don't even know what they get if they get the socialists again. Yeah, I know. It's not like Angela Merkel. I hope, I pray for Sweden that it's not like Angela Merkel or Sweden is over. How would you learn the trading tactics you're doing if you know Tesla deeply but don't know when to use and what tool and so on? Martin Bakker. Well, the only way to learn options is to do it. And my, here, options. The thing is with options, don't get distracted with all these stupid theories. You just forget the theories. They're all dumb. And Black-Scholes models and stuff like that. So dumb. Can't even put it into words. But the way I can give you a mini crash course how to do this. So if you go on any options chain, right? Here's an options chain. Easy peasy. You first pick your expiration date. So let's say you do my strategy right now. So you aim at, let's say, June 18th expiration. And you want to do short puts. Let me explain why this is so hot. What I like about it. So for example, if you're selling a 435 short put that expires June 18th. So all you have to do is like survive 18 days. You're selling this thing and they're paying you $16 for this. For nothing, right? They're paying you $16 if you sell the short put and just hold it. But they can put literally the stock to you for 435. They can force you to buy 100 stocks from them per contract. One options contract pays you 100 times $16. So one options contract, okay, gives you $1,600 for free. You can keep it in your little cash account and you owe them the right that they can sell you 100 Tesla shares for 435 on June 18th. Of course, they're not going to put them to you if Tesla is higher, because it would be free money. But if Tesla is lower, boom, you're screwed. And that means this is the reverse good deal of the call, right? Because if you would buy a call to participate on the upside, you are paying $18, which means Tesla has to go to whatever that is, 452 53 in order for you to even make money. Whereas here, Tesla can just stay here and not even go up and you make already this much. So that's why short puts are just statistically much more likely to win. Now the problem is if that thing goes down with a call, you just lose your $18 you invested or you 1,800 for one contract. But here you have infinite losses, right? If Tesla would crash to 300, that is why this is so dangerous. It is statistically very good to do, but it's very dangerous. And if you get hit, you have a problem. right? And so instead of learning all these stupid Greek numbers like deltas and thetas and all that kind of stuff, totally unimportant, you have to think in scenarios. You have to understand if you're selling this thing and Tesla does not fall more than to 419, you are making money, right? Because you're getting 16 bucks at 436. So if it falls to 419, you're still break even. Only if it falls below 419, you're starting to lose money. And if it stays at 435, you're keeping the entire premium. Or if it goes up, you're keeping the entire premium. So you just look at these options chain and be, the actual guy in charge. Basically make your strategy and think in scenarios and expiration dates. And of course, you also see if you increase the expiration date, you get much more money, but you have to hold it longer, right? Which then on an annualized level is actually not that much money. So if you extend it to July 2nd, the same thing pays you much more because you have more risk. Now, instead of $16, they're paying you $21 for the exact same. So they're paying you basically $5 more for 2 more weeks. And you have to do the math or the calculation if that's worth it. Okay, so many questions. What do we have here? The stuff in the trunk are wheel covers, but why are they so big? It seems very big. Stuff in the trunk, wheel covers, how are, oh, well, maybe you're right, yeah. They could be wheel covers, actually, when you look at this wheel is so big. But why do they have wheel covers in their trunk? You mean maybe for the front wheels? Because the front wheels don't have wheel covers. Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Those are cables for charging. Minimum dollars required to invest with Pioneer, 25,000 in all jurisdictions outside the European Union. In the European Union, it's 100,000 euros because of regulations. That's the minimums for Pioneer Alpha, for the Pioneer bonds. Steering wheel, no. Wheel covers. Elon said 6 months must be true. Well, when do you anticipate data centers are up and running on Mars? On Mars? Never. They just shouldn't be on Mars. That makes no sense. The question is, Doug Fresh, it's not Mars. The question is, when are they in space? I expect the first prototypes of data centers in space to be next year. And I expect the first commercial data center in space in 2028. Faster than people think. And Elon is going to reveal the new orbital AI data center satellite design, I think in 2 weeks, he said. When do you come visit Giga Berlin? Tristan Tremolier. You have a very French name for a Berliner. I should go to Berlin. Yeah, that would be fun. Visit Giga Berlin. Maybe do a little live show from Giga Berlin. What would happen to Tesla stock if it merges with SpaceX? Would SpaceX buy the company and just pay out all shareholders? No. If we merge with SpaceX, you're getting SpaceX shares in exchange. So if it's a one-to-one match, you are basically, if you have $100,000 in Tesla shares, you're basically getting back $100,000 worth of the merged entity in shares. No data centers ever on Mars. Yes. But we need a cash position to do margin short puts. You have to have some. No, you don't need a cash position. You don't need a cash position, Kaneda syndrome. Very important. You just need a position. So for example, if you have $1 million in Tesla shares, to make simple math here, $1 million in Tesla shares gives you 50% of that share value in margin. So you have 500,000, then at least on Interactive Broker, depends on your broker, but you get something. Mostly 50% of that Tesla share is then available as margin, so you can sell puts against that. You don't need cash. I highly recommend Nicholas Gibbs' Options Crash Course, Investing Against the Grain YouTube channel. Invest with Henry YouTube channel has lots of courses on YouTube as well. Sure. Yeah, Nicholas Gibbs. Nick is smart. He has smart stuff. I never watched his course, but I'm sure it's smart. Doug Fresh. Sell a 435 strike put. You need 43,000 in your account to sell that put. Doug Fresh. Maybe you should get another broker. I don't need 43,000 to sell one put. I need much less. But it depends on your status and all kinds of things, right? This is a very important question. I probably need, for one put, maybe 20,000. I probably need half of that. But it depends on your status and your broker and your deal. I have a buy under 450, over 450 accumulates cash approach right now. Well, Canada syndrome, I would be cautious in June. This could break, right? This could break because you're assuming, it bounces off 450, 445, which was true, but I think it might not be true anymore very soon. So you have to be cautious. MDOQ1QL, when 6-seater Model Y will be produced in Giga Berlin, who knows? I don't know. Should be actually good for the European market. Will there be a premium added to Tesla stock if there is a merger with SpaceX? I think that depends on the price of. I think a merger of equals 1-to-1 is very likely. So if the market cap of SpaceX is above Tesla, yes, premium. But if Tesla is above SpaceX, I think there's a problem. I think then no one knows what to do. If they put a 1 million person colony on Mars, there will be some kind of data center where even if it's not the mega structure type we have here now. Sure. But I'm not that interested. I was never interested in Mars. I think it's stupid. I mean, it's fine. I'm not against it, but it's not interesting. It's too far out. It's too difficult. It's everything about it is stupid. It's not interesting to me. I'm interested in a 3 months to 5 year time frame because life is short. That does not mean, for example, in Pioneer Lands, that we are not planning a multi-decade or multi-century super plan. But from a stock perspective, I'm not interested in Mars. I'm interested in the moon. The moon is the focus, not Mars. How much of your capital do you use when doing puts and other trades? How much % of your portfolio is realistic for a normie to do on puts? Well, this is very complicated math, right? Because you're short selling puts, so it's nothing of your portfolio. It's a margin. How should I explain this? You basically have margin availability and it eats away on your margin availability. But if you sell things short, you never actually have a percentage of your portfolio, technically. And with options, it becomes even more complicated. So net exposure, it depends how you compute it. If you would convert the entire portfolio into Tesla to make it 100%, the net exposure in aggressive trading I'm using is up to 5x, 500% of that. But that's also not how you compute exposure with options normally, synthetic leverage. Because let's say you have 1,000 Tesla shares. That's 10 options contracts. So with 1,000 Tesla shares, I would go up to 50 put contracts if I'm very aggressive, which is technically 5x leverage. But that's not how it's computed. If you have a fund hefty report synthetic leverage, you would take these 50 contracts and multiply them with the delta, which is normally 20% or something. So it's only 100%. It's only 2x leverage. Are you buying SpaceX stock? No, I think it's overvalued. Tactically short term. Well, it's not overvalued. I would say I am 95% sure that I will get SpaceX stock cheaper than at IPO within 9 months after IPO. And that's a situation that I don't like. Why would I buy it then at the IPO? At E-Trade, Tesla is listed as a 40% margin requirement, whereas Amazon has a 30% requirement. Amazon? Oh yeah. 40% margin requirement for Tesla, that's pretty good, by the way. So E-Trade is nice to you. I have a 50% margin requirement for Tesla. Amazon 30%, that's not so nice in my opinion. Would you recommend selling covered calls on Tesla or will there be a huge hockey stick? I am totally against covered calls right now because of the action in June. I'm for covered calls. If we see action, we go to 490, and I have the feeling the action is exhausted, then I'm doing covered calls. So I'm not a friend for Tesla covered calls as a default long-term strategy. I'm only doing covered calls on Tesla when we have a tactical run-up that goes too far. Then I'm selling covered calls. And that's definitely not now, because it's just super annoying when you get the spike and you have covered calls. What is a responsible percent of net worth to invest in Pioneer Lands and the Pioneer bonds? Focused nature. I can only answer that in abstractions, because I shouldn't talk about these things directly because I'm biased, of course. But as a general gist, that depends on your investment strategy. I do think generally it is smart to have aggressive exposure to the AGI thesis right now, which means Max 7, Tesla, Nvidia, and so on and so forth. In a portfolio like this with stocks, the role of Pioneer bonds, at least of the Tesla plus 50 bonds, there are different roles, right? Depending on the bond. If you want to basically diversify a Tesla exposure position, I mean, what is an appropriate percentage? Of course, I can't really give you advice on that. That's like bad, double bad, because I shouldn't give advice. And since I'm also involved in the issuance, I can't really comment on that. But a way to think about is, I think aggressive exposure to AGI generally is good. And then you can view these different instruments as you can have raw stock exposure, and you can have actively managed kind of bond or fund exposure that you split your money. So you can have some in direct stock exposure and some in actively managed that hedges your risk a little bit. Where are we? Just a web name based on Akira movie from the 80s. Very good. Gilberto, I sold half my Tesla shares this week at 440. I have a feeling it will drop in June and buy it back 30% cheaper. I have the opposite feeling, Gilberto. I don't think so. I think we have a lot of catalysts coming. It might drop after when the market gets weak, but I think Iran is over. I think the macro constellation is positive. I have a rally feeling right now, and for the market and for Tesla specifically. But of course, you never know. Would you short Uber stock? No, not because I think Uber is good. I think Uber is going down, but shorting is just not very profitable. That's the problem. Here, Kaneda syndrome says, careful with that. Just lost a good 10K-ish on a bearish on the money call. And it went up heavily, leaving me behind. Yeah, I would be cautious. Martin Bakker, what is your best advice for a Swedish man in early 20s? How do I take advantage of the AI revolution, or at least don't get run over? Well, that's why we have Pioneer Lands. You should definitely join Pioneer Lands because we're discussing these things there. You mean in terms of capital investment or in general? I just gave a little speech in front of Swedish young men, by the way, about that. So I think it's important. I think Pioneer Lands is a very good starting point, both when it comes to capital investments, but also when it comes to what are we actually going to do about it personally. It's very important to train the key skills. In the age of AGI, you need to understand capital. That's not just for investments. You need to understand how the stocks work, what all these companies are doing, the key companies, Tesla, Nvidia, Micron Technologies, SpaceX. That is very important because they will define that. And then you should find other people, but that's why we have Pioneer Lands. Other people who are also asking these questions and figuring it out, because this is a whole complicated thing. Is it true you need over 50% shareholders to vote yes for the Tesla SpaceX merger, and Elon already has 15%? It's a very good question if Elon's count or if he has to recuse himself because he's involved. So I'm not sure if Elon's count. But yeah, I think you might need 66%. You might need like a supermajority. Do you have a Tesla price tag for 2030? Yes, roughly $4,000. I shifted my higher price target 18 months out to 2032, the 10,000. So it's 4,000. Baseline. Martin Bakker, where are you, Martin? In what city in Sweden? Of course, we might be building out some networks in Sweden. So let me see. Oh, we are already an hour in. We have to wrap it up. Yeah, any more questions? So Martin, you should definitely go to Pioneerlands and you can try to get in touch there with me. Put in your city because we're building out these networks a little bit more. At what Tesla price do you finally sell enough to buy a Cybertruck? I actually ordered a Cybertruck and then in LA I was in this meetup, not a meetup, I was with Goldman Sachs. There was a nice little garden party in Beverly Woods and I ran into this guy and was like, this guy looks so familiar. And it was Franz von Holzhausen. So I met Franz and his wife, Vicky. And I had pre-ordered a Cybertruck. And yeah, I could have gotten a Cybertruck, but in LA, and I was just moving, so that was stupid. 4,000 is your base case. Do you have a bull case target? Yes, I have, but this is still classified because we're still digging deeper into the bull case. So I can't disclose this now. Just tuning in, did you talk about the Tesla AI trainer whistleblow? You mean what Elon said about the new optimized stack with the Blackwell 200s, I think? I didn't talk about this. This is a different video, but very interesting. 700 versus 400 views on X versus YouTube. Why no comments on X? I don't even understand why X. The comments on X are not on. Are you saying that? I don't even understand how this works on X. So we have no comments switched on X. Let's see how this works. Let me just check this. X. You can send a message on X, I think. Send message. Hello. Can you guys see this on X? No. See, this doesn't work. Oh, Ricardo da Costa. Yes. Oh, nice. But there are no comments here. So all the comments are on YouTube and my aggregation here doesn't show the X comments. It's very confusing. You have to optimize this. How much do you think will increase in stock price in June? I think if the Cybercab action starts, which I think it will, I think we go to all-time highs to 490. But let's see. Depends how much we drop before, if we drop. I think if we drop to 420 or 410, maybe we go to 460, 470. But if we stay here, when the run-up starts, I think we will hit 490. If the market behaves, the general macro situation. If you had to sell all your Tesla and only buy one other stock, I mean, which one would you pick? Obviously SpaceX. That's an easy question. If there's also no SpaceX and only one other stock, I don't know. I would probably just buy Nvidia. That's like very good baseline. Another Swede here, Markus Svensson. almost no understanding investing in stocks, recently decided to go all into Tesla, sitting on approximately 40,000 Tesla shares, 390 buy-in price. Good or bad move? Good move, Marcus. I think it's a very good move. Just don't sell it. Put it into your ESK. That's the Swedish wonder weapon against capital gains tax. No, there's actually a crazy bearish insider leak on so-called Tesla AI trainers saying things are not as they seem with robotaxi. Reuters, probably fake news. I will research this, but I mean, there's always whistleblowers saying everything is fake. But we know that FSD is working pretty fine. I mean, we have like millions of people covering that stuff. But I will read it. Who knows? When Terafab is in full production, it will surpass all the chip makers like NVIDIA, AMD. Well, yeah, if everyone else stands still, yes, I think Terafab will be very massive. I think it's a big deal. Tesla Space will merge. I agree. When do we hit 700? I think this year. It's very simple. If we get to the 15,000 unsupervised Cybercabs by end of the year, which I think Søren Becher thinks and Herbert thinks, independent of each other, I think we are definitely going to 700 and higher. But will we? We'll see. Oh, Detroit is also on X. Predictions on debuts of Optimus version 3. Well, Elon said in 90 days, which is now in 45 days, which is in August, roughly. I think it's early August, end of July. Let's see if this actually happens. I think there is a not unreasonable chance it happens, or it happens in 1 or 2 months later. And I think that's another important catalyst. Okay, guys, now we have to wrap it up. That was longer than I thought. 1 hour and 2 minutes. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We are live back again on Sunday in the Pioneer Academy, of course. And tomorrow we have an interesting video coming up. We will cover, of course, the Pioneer Alpha situation, the performance of the week, but have some surprises in there. The surprise I already have. The coverage I have to record tomorrow. And then maybe I see you guys on Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until then, to all the different cities in the world. And so many Swedes. That's very good. Hey do. Hey do, and gracias to Gilberto. Where are you, Gilberto? In LA? And to the oil platform. That was amazing. So see you guys. See you Sunday or tomorrow. Bye-bye.